Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? A gracious good morning to you, good people. It's your girl KB. You know what I do, and you know why I do it. It is Thursday morning, June 26th, and it's 3:07 in the a.m. Now, normally about this time of morning, I'm enjoying a cup of tea, and I'm talking to you, good people. Today is a coffee day. Now, I know I've shared this a couple of times. Coffee and me, it's not a good combination. I get beyond hyphy. And for those of you who don't know the word, I'm going to strongly suggest you look it up. But yes, I get beyond hyphy. Then I'm doing the Fred Sanford kind of thing. I'm having baby heart attacks because I get that hyped up on coffee. But today, I need coffee. I want to share something with you that's going to upset a few of you. And I hope at the same time it gives you cause for pause and food for thought. And I'm going to use the phrase that for those of you who are in recovery, I'm sure you've heard, or if you've been through some type of treatment program, I'm sure you heard this phrase, playing on a safe environment. And in other words, manipulating people. Playing on a safe environment means that there's some rules in place to keep people in check. But you engage in slick talk to provoke. That part, And I know you've heard and seen videos on various social media platforms. I know I post about this all the time because it's happened to me. And it's the very first time I really experienced somebody other than somebody in recovery playing on a safe environment. This was somebody who talked pretty, said all the right things, had all the right actions, but the core was disingenuous. And when the core was exposed, see, this is what you're supposed to do when dealing with somebody that has narcissistic tendencies. You expose that madness. Because for the most part, in dealing with somebody with those tendencies, you override your better judgment. I want to say, use that phrase. You override your better judgment because there's some level of attachment. It's hard to extricate yourself from a narcissist or somebody with narcissistic tendencies or somebody, if you don't like that phrase, narcissist, somebody that's self-absorbed, okay, or has a history of manipulation and leads you to believe that it's always somebody else's fault. And again, you override your better judgment because you're emotionally invested. Like I said, I was on the receiving end of that. Now, granted, I am not completely innocent. I had some expectations based on the conversation that was going on, but I never voiced those expectations. So that's how I am guilty. I assumed. Okay, so manipulation is, or the epitome of manipulation is, when you get upset at a person's response, usually anger, to grimy behavior. So you're upset with me because I called you out on some stuff. And you guys know I've shared this consistently. Maturity is indicated by accountability. Saying, you know what, I messed up. You know what, this is what and like I said, that's where I'm guilty because I did not voice my expectations. I went along with the conversation, which was flattery, which appealed to something that, was attractive to me, which at times was the ego stroke. I had to look at my sense of pride. And again, I had to look at my expectations. And this is a tough one. I had to look at the lust that was driving me. And lust is not always sexual. Now, people don't understand that when you use the word lust, you automatically go to sex. Lust is not always sexual. Lust is, I want to say, a strong desire, a strong pull, a strong attraction to something that makes you override your, like I said, your judgment. You know it's not good for you because you have all these questions and, as I like to say, the math ain't math and the dots ain't connecting. So, all these questions are in the back of your mind. And then when you finally get to a point where you're fed up with the manipulation or knowing that the math isn't mathing and this person continues to throw chum in the water and you get upset, then it's your fault. And, in my studies, and I say my studies, it's because, I have to do recertification for my counselor's license. I have to do recertification every 2 years, so I have to take some courses. So in my studies, I've learned that the best way to deal with a narcissist and your connection to that individual is to expose all the disconnects. And I hear my grandma's words in my head, tell the truth and shame the devil. And that's exactly what happens. I said that individual will flee based on the fear of being exposed. That being said, I see all these beautiful folks on TikTok, or as I like to say at times, the tickety-tock, because, it's like that roller coaster, that old wooden roller coaster when there's pulling you up to an elevation, and you can hear each pull, tick, 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 tick. That's what tickety-tock comes from. So you find that thing, you expose that thing, and the individual is mad at you. And like I said, all these beautiful folks looking for love on the tickety-tock. Beautiful people. And I don't know them personally. I just know what they're presenting and that their words genuine, or at least it feels that way. But you can also hear the pain. You can also hear, I want to say, the woundedness, even though it's not spoken. There's a plea as opposed to a presentation. Let me put it like that. And when I hear that, the very first thing I'm thinking is, There's some baggage coming with the person that's putting that information out. And, please heal. Please heal. And how you do that is you spend some time with yourself. You do some self-work and some self-examination. You learn your value and what you bring to the table so you won't accept less than. That part. We give lip service to knowing who we are and what we bring. And the reason I say we give lip service to it is because when you leave one dysfunctional relationship and get into another, or you get into situationships, you're not calling it anything. And for me, I want commitment and connection. Don't just string me along. That's my expectation. Commitment and connection. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. If something's not working, you figure out why it's not working, and you talk about it. I've heard folks, and this was my experience in my situation. Oh, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to put that energy in the air. But you were quick to say that the ex was crazy. And again, because I was attracted to, you never said what you did to make them crazy until I figured it out. Be careful what you accept, and make sure you do your work.